Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of From Prison to Purpose. My name's Jimmy McGill, and I'm the host of this podcast, and I'm also the author of the book, From Prison to Purpose. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I haven't used a substance in almost 9 years. In fact, if it's God's will, I stay clean between now and February 27th. It will be 9 years. I'm also a person who has successfully re-entered society after incarceration. Today, we're going to be hearing from a good friend of mine, a resident at our recovery residence named Ben Tagethoff. He's got a lot of famous nicknames. Ben Tagethoff, Ben Cut the Tag Off, Bend Over. I mean, anything that wasn't tied down, this dude went and got it. You know what I mean? He found a way to use and find chemicals that would change the way he felt by any means necessary. He's also one of my home team members. And so I'm glad that he's not only a resident at our facility, but he's also a good friend of mine and my wife Chelsea's. And so we grew up with Ben. And so to see Ben living a life of recovery is pretty phenomenal because there was a lot of efforts that we tried to get Ben to come up here in the past, and it didn't work out. And so without any further ado, Ben, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you sound just like you're on the radio, man. Okay. You happy?
Yeah, I'm very happy, man.
You nervous?
A little bit, but just go with the flow.
You wasn't nervous when you was cutting the tags off them jeans?
Not at all.
Not in the slightest. You walk in the store, boost everything, but you scared to sit in front of the microphone.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense, does it? So how you feeling, Ben?
Man, I feel like I got some life in me, man. I think that one of the last times I seen you out there in North of the Rock, I was like a zombie walking the streets, man.
Yeah, you was bad. I wanted you in my truck. I said, Ben, get in the truck, man. We're going to take you to treatment. Ben said, you don't want me to get in the truck right now. I said, Ben, you got something on you? He said, just a little bit. I said, no, you can't get in the truck.
Yeah, I was on a mission.
You was on a mission, wasn't you?
Yeah.
Where was you leaving?
I was leaving the shopping center there with Hobby Lobby and all that, headed to McCain Mall.
Finna go get something.
Get some more.
Boy, it don't make no sense. It don't make no sense, Ben.
Yeah.
So how long did you use substances?
Man, I've been using substances since I was all like 16 years old.
Now, how'd that start? Because you got a pretty good parent. You got a good dad.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
like he's in your corner for real.
Yeah, I just had, I guess, a fascination with the streets, man, and I started steering towards the criminal lifestyle. You know, there's people. I was from Lakewood, but I was interested in the guys in Levy and Pike, so I would, be with, I guess, the rich kid hang with the poor kid type thing. And,
in my neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just, from doing good things when you're being on teams and doing all the stuff at school to breaking in houses and
Crazy.
Doing dope.
Yeah. So what was an average, what did your drug use look like in the beginning, Ben? Like, was it fun? Was it social? What did it look like?
It was very social. There was a group of guys I hung out with, about 7 or 8 of us, and we were together every day. So it was like when I was hit, first it was the pot, and then very quickly came into the other stuff like alcohol and then soon meth. But, we were just we're experimenting and doing things for the first time, and get to the point, it went from a leisure type, just a social thing to everyday thing, and ended up dropping out of high school there about the 11th grade, and just veering off on the path that I was brought up to be. My dad did a great job raising me. I just had a lot of rebellion in me. There's a lot of reasons to that. I felt like I was trying to find purpose, and with the ADD and I guess the learning disabilities I had, it was hard for me to go there and make good grades. So I didn't like the feeling of failing, so I felt I was doing good at doing what I was doing in the streets. So I hung up with that.
Yeah. So how long did it take for your substance use to go from that everyday fun use that you were just talking about with the 7 or 8 guys to, okay, this is not so glamorous at all?
In the span of 5 years, not less than 5 years, because, I had friends that were doing meth, for me, it was early age. I was 16, 17 years old, but they had been doing it years before I was. But once I started doing the meth, it was downhill from there. It took a hold of me. It was something, I felt like it was my escape. And like I said, I clung to that lifestyle and was just on a straight rebellion trip. And I guess, curiosity of what was out there. I found acceptance in that lifestyle, and it was just a period of my life I'm glad I grew out of. I still hung on to the addiction, but I stopped doing certain things, like breaking in houses and doing stuff that I didn't need to be doing, because I always had stuff I needed. Actually, had a little bit too much for what I needed, but it was a curiosity.
So what were you trying to escape? Because earlier you talked about having a good home, had a good dad, came from a good neighborhood. Then you said your drug use was your effort to escape. What were you trying to escape?
Like myself, because I always felt like I had to live up to like my sister's level of knowledge of school and all that stuff. She was a kind of person that could make the dean's list and still go party. But
Yeah.
but I struggled. So with that the struggle just brought it discouraged me a lot, and I didn't like that feeling. But, that the escape of when I was getting high was just like, I like this. This makes me feel good. I feel accepted.
So did your drug use progress after meth? Did it go into something more from
Yeah,
meth?
I had phases. I would have like phases. I was doing a lot of coke, and I went from club drugs like acid and ecstasy like that. But there was something about the methamphetamine that triggered something in my brain that it was just my drug of choice for
That was your
sure.
baby.
Yeah,
Yeah. Me too.
and no matter what I did, I'd always fall back on it.
Okay. So how do you got any crazy addiction stories?
I have tons of crazy.
Well, let's laugh at what you got.
Well, I can't even think here. Definitely, I have somewhere I was just. I remember at my mom's. It was actually my sister's birthday party, and she's born on leap year, and we're having a party at McCain Park apartment courthouse or clubhouse there. And that night, I didn't want to go because I was already on the coke binge for like 4 or 5 days. But I was like, I got to show up for my sister's party. So we ended up going, me and my old lady, and my brother-in-law was like, man, can you give me some coke? And I was like, yeah, I get you a little bit, and have my buddy come drop me off a little bit. But later on, my brother-in-law canceled the order, so I'm stuck with this, about a half ounce of coke in my pocket. And then as the evening progresses, I get kind of a little too drunk, and I get in an argument with my stepdad about a song getting played on the radio or on the stereo at a party, and I'm all in my feelings and stuff about cussing him out, trying to fight my stepdad in front of everybody. And I reached to get a cigarette out of my pocket, and I end up accidentally pulling this bag of coke, and it just spills out in front of me. And me and my brother-in-law are scooping it up, and like, what's my cocaine?
Okay, so the coke just spills everywhere.
Everywhere. It wasn't a good scene.
Yeah.
Everybody's, my sister's crying now, and
what'd they say about that?
It was just like, when you're at a party and something happens and that the record scratched, it's like everybody went silent, looking at me all crazy.
That's nuts, man.
It is.
So what did your addiction ultimately do to you? What kind of physical, mental, emotional effects did the long terms of drug use have on you?
It took everything away from me that was me. Myself. I mean, I like sports. I like to follow certain things like sports and have hobbies. Just anything that was me, it took away, and I secluded myself. I got to the point I was a loner. I was homeless. It took everything. It took my kids' relationship away from me, and I chose it. I chose that lifestyle over over my life. But a lot of things I'm not proud of. But I never wanted my son to see me in that shape, so I would stay away when I'm in that shape. And 90% of the time, I was in that shape. So he missed out, or I missed out on a lot of his life that I can't get back. But that's one of my goals in recovery, is to work on that relationship
with your son.
Yeah, and my father.
Yeah. I've spent a lot of time in conversations with your dad. He's up there in age, and he would definitely like a relationship with his son before he leaves this world. So
absolutely, a genuine relationship.
Yeah, one that he gets his boy back, because it's been a long time since he had his boy.
Yep.
And that's what drugs does, man. It kills, steals, and destroys. I mean, it rooks and robs us out of every good thing that we were. Addiction promises this fallacy, this awesome life that's non-existent, and recovery restores that.
Yeah, that's part of the recovery I look forward to. I know it doesn't take a lot of work, and sacrifice. Good days and hard days, but it's the goal at the end of the road is gonna be worth it.
Yeah.
And he's already proud that I'm here. I spent some time in Placer County Jail before I got here, so I had 6 months of clean time in there. But I've been here a couple weeks now, and it's the start of my new beginning. And I look forward to getting involved. Actually, I have a sponsor already, and I'm starting my step work. And it's something I've been in and out these rooms half my life, but I've never worked a program.
Yeah.
And I feel good about it. I call him every day. I'm working now at Tyson. It's not the best job in the world, but it's a start. And I paid my rent last week, and it's just stuff that I haven't done.
You paid your rent too.
I paid my rent,
not anyone else. So how long has it been since you were responsible for Ben? How long have other people been carrying Ben?
Most of my life.
How old are you now?
I had a lot of spots that I did have carry my own, but it's just as soon as I could just back to do addiction, I throw it all away. And I think that I can speak for a lot of people that it robs you from your dignity.
Yeah.
And if I'm high, my way of thinking is completely off. I'm in stores and boosting or stealing stuff and doing stuff that and just taking chances of penitentiary every day, but not caring because I'm just trying to feed this habit.
Yeah. So what would the drugs do to the relationship with your sister?
Well, for many years that she like I said, she's a physical therapist, so she had to go a lot of schooling and stuff, but eventually down the line, she picked up too. And it was kind of like, when I was younger, I was like, why can I not be smart like her or do be successful in life? But didn't see her struggle. It's like I really felt like I wanted to reach out to her, but it was just real odd because I didn't really know how to accept it because seeing her being successful and then all of a sudden struggle, which she's doing better now. I'm proud of her. She had her phase of it, but she shook out of it. But along with those other relationships, I want to mend. But I was the black sheep of the family, and so I was the one that really kind of set the bar on things that could go wrong or bad things I did in my family. Because once my sister did it, my dad was kind of already used to dealing with me.
Yeah,
he kind of knew how to handle it better.
So, do you have hopes of restoring the relationship with everybody now that you're in recovery? Other than your dad?
Absolutely. And I guess for having my mindset of, this is what I'm going to do, it's a whole lot easier. I know there's, things are going to come up. Like, for instance, the job is not the best job I want, but I know down the line, I see a light at the tunnel and I'm not discouraged. I know I'm into the baby steps of recovery. I've had more than half my life using and only 6 months of being clean. So this is I'm an infant.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about some of the things that addiction really did to you that you regret right now more than anything?
There's a number of just the time wasted in many years. My kids growing up, special moments that I wasn't there for.
How many kids?
I have 2 kids, and
where are they at?
They're both in Little Rock. One's in Sherwood and one's in East End.
Are they grown?
My son's 21. My daughter's 16.
No relationship with them at all?
Oh, my son, yes. I have 2 different mothers for my children, so it was kind of hard to actually even see one of them. But my son and I, we've had a great relationship, especially as him as a kid. It's just like I didn't want, like I said earlier, I don't want him to see me in the conditions I was in. So when I was in my deepest, he didn't see me much at all.
Okay. So what about your daughter? What impact did drugs have on her?
It was from her birth, it was an impact because me and her mother, we hooked up at a Kim-free house.
Recovery relationship.
13th step. And by doing that, it ended the relationship with my son's mother. So that was like
So you're in a recovery house trying to get sober, cheat on your kid's mom with another girl and have a baby with her.
Right.
Well, that's some shady. Can we beep this? That's some shady. Golly, man. That's what we do, though, ain't it, man?
It was.
Was it worth it?
Absolutely not. I mean, I love my daughter. Even though I don't have her in my life, she's here for a reason.
Yeah.
And plus, the conditions I was living in, I wasn't in the manner to take care of neither of them. They were both in good hands. they never been without. They got their, their guardians, whatever you words call it.
Yeah.
Take care of them.
So how many Kim-free houses you been in?
A number of them.
Better be glad you didn't have a baby with all of them.
Right.
Golly, was it co-ed recovery house?
Absolutely.
They do that? The girls in one room, the guys in the next? I mean,
Girls
what's
on
that
top floor, men on the bottom.
Girls on top.
Yeah, you probably know which place I'm talking about. Behind the mall.
Behind.
In Little Rock.
Oh, yeah, that's where I got clean at.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like that.
Well.
Yeah. I get it. I see what you're saying. So how long ago was that?
That was, it was 16 years ago.
Okay. I can see that happening now for sure. There was some room jumping when I was in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually where I met Chelsea. I mean, I was living there when I met Chelsea, and, I had one foot in I know this is your story, but, I want to open dialogue if that's okay. Can we talk?
It's
Can
cool.
we just chat?
It's cool.
So I literally remember that I got one foot in the street. I'm living at the same Kim-free house you were, and I'm literally selling dope my first 90 days of recovery. Like I'm one foot in recovery, one foot in the street, because it's all I knew.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get a job because my criminal history was so bad. And Chelsea was trying to help this kid get his footing in recovery, right? Like she had a couple years clean at the time. And the kid was not living right. And so he's running around using and stuff. And so I just come home from the joint, man. And this girl named Tara calls me and she's like, "Hey, this kid took my pills, Jimmy. I need your help. I need my money back." And so I call the kid up and I'm like, at this time I still had that street reputation. And I'm like, "You know who this is?" He's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Well, I owe such and such a favor. And unfortunately it's you." I said, "I'm going to need them pills. I'm going to need that money. I'm going to need whatever you got, and yeah. Well, Chelsea found out about it, and she's like, "You tell him you saw him at a recovery meeting and that you're trying to stay sober and yada, yada, yada." And then she emails me and says, "Hey, we got beef, punk." And I'm like, "That's cute." I just keep scrolling. But that was initially how we met. And
I read that in your book.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so my experience with that Kim-free house seems to be vastly different from yours.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wasn't ready. At the time of my life, I was not trying to change. I was forced there pretty much by my son's mother, and that was a bad time in my life right there. My mom was diagnosed with cancer around that time.
Yeah,
I was unfaithful. I was a creep, man. But,
he was creeping too.
Yeah, I was creeping.
He was a creepy McCreepster.
But that ain't the case now.
Had the sober living, baby.
I had to learn about my head a few times.
What'd you name the kid? Serenity? Temptation.
Right.
So let's talk about how you got this. So a lot of people, we got a large social media following, and not as large as I would like it to be, because I want the entire world to know that people can and do recover, people can and do successfully integrate into society. And that once you're a felon, it doesn't mean that you're a nobody, and that's my mission, right? To end the stigma around incarceration, reentry, and recovery, right? And so I believe social media plays this huge role in what we do.
Absolutely.
It can go places we can't go. It can safely carry a message in a dope house because it goes anywhere a phone goes.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of people follow us, and we love them, and tell them how you got to Next Step. And, they don't know about the CSI. Talk a little bit about that, and your dad reaching out to us and all those things.
Yeah. I mean, about this time last year, I was in a faith-based program, and I was dismissed, not because I got high or not because I wasn't doing what I wasn't supposed to do. It was just a disagreement with me and somebody there. But it put a bad taste in my mouth with, I guess, the faith-based thing. I mean, I was kicked out, and immediately in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm going to show them. And I'm going to go get a bag, get high. But
that is so crazy. Why do we do that? I'll show you I'm going to kill me.
Right.
I'll teach you to piss me off. I'll kill myself.
Yeah. And, and I stayed out for about a month or two. I really didn't care, to try to go back and finish where I started anywhere else. I had a couple other places offer me to come in, but even see you on the side of the road, but I wasn't ready yet. But on May 5th, I was picked up with a buddy. We were just at the house and smoked some pot, so I was really high. And they pulled us over for having a seatbelt on, and I had some dope in my pocket, and I knew I had a warrant. So I was kind of relieved, really, because I knew I was going to go in there and get this warrant taken care of, and I might have to stay there for a little bit. But once I got there, I had the warrant I had was a felony warrant for another possession charge. So they were talking about giving me some RPF time, and that was my first offer. And then I joined the CSI program, which is a reentry program there in Pulaski County. It's a 12-week program there at the jail. It's fairly new. It's only a couple years old. And then once I get in the jail, everybody's like, you need to go try to get in this program so you can go in there, watch movies and eat popcorn on the weekend. And, you know.
Nice. No wrong reason to get in recovery.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was kind of in it for the wrong reasons at first. But once I got accepted in there, you know, it was almost like a reunion to go in there, see a lot of guys I knew from the street I know. And we just kind of, it's a day I was like, man, you know what, I'm gonna try this out. You know, Miss Kathy, she's a director there. She was a good inspiration for me. You know, she had lost her son to an overdose years ago, and just seeing her drive to go in there and try to help a lot of guys that were struggling, and she poured her heart out to us, and something clicked in my mind in there. It's just like, you know, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna make a plan. And in my mind, that it was the next step was part of the plan, and I haven't reached out to you yet. And I was speaking to my dad a couple of times on the phone, and you know, I was like, if you can, look up Chelsea and Jimmy and see what you can do.
He did. He's a bloodhound.
Yeah.
Like, your dad is not playing any games about you, man.
Yeah. But then the second time I went to court, you know, they offered me drug court. And I think that's about the time you came in the picture, and you were like, you know, was trying not to get him drug court, because if I was in drug court, I wouldn't be here, because I would be confined to Pulaski County.
Yeah.
With all the meetings and stuff. So they committed me to the program there for, it was another 6 weeks or so left. So I completed the program and went back to court, and I was able to be released here the next step. And I was as part of my plan. I was asking God to help me fulfill this plan I had. I had another place in between here, which is there in Little Rock, but I'm glad I did that part. I'm glad it came out the way it did, because I'm where I want to be.
Yeah.
You know, if I was going to try to get clean and put my all into my recovery, I want to be where I want to be at.
You don't think it's too hard here?
Absolutely not. I mean, if you're going with the grain, it's a lot easier than trying to go against it.
A lot of guys, they get here and they complain.
Well, they need to go back and humble themselves a little bit, or go bump their head and come back, or they even have a chance to come back.
Well, I mean, you gotta admit, man, making your bed can be pretty devastating, Ben.
Well,
I mean, a lot of guys, I mean, just can't just anybody get up in the morning and make their bed, Ben.
Right.
You may be asking too much in a recovery house.
You gotta wanna, and that's the whole thing. If you're not if your heart ain't sold to be able to follow some suggestions and things you don't like. There's rules I don't like. I like the hoard clothes and a bunch of items that I don't need. And
that's terrible, Ben. You got enough clothes in that dang place to have a yard sale right now, man.
But it's something that I know, simple things like that. If I can conquer that and just say no to myself, you got
self-will,
right? Yeah,
I want what I want, and I want it right now. Damn, what Jimmy said.
I can see the meaning in that, and seeing the message in that. So having if I haven't what Ben wants,
yeah.
What am I going to learn? But,
yeah, because Ben, how old are you, Ben?
I'm 44.
44. You've been trying it Ben's way for 44 years.
Yep.
I mean, let's be real. That don't pan out too much, man. And so one of my favorite sayings in recovery is, if you want a life you've never had, you got to do some things you never did to get that.
And it's so true. And that's where I'm willing to take those risks of the unknown, the anxieties of, you know, even doing something like this, is come on here and do something that I've never done before.
Yeah, and it's important. It's important that you and I learn to work together, because, I mean, the judge put you here till next September, so right. We got to make it work, Ben, because I'm not willing to let you go back to prison, and I'm not willing to kick you out. So you got to work with. You got to help me help you to help us.
Right. And I had no problem doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. What about your neighbor? He don't want to make his bed.
Can't do nothing for my neighbor, but tell him, I can suggest, give him some suggestions.
Yeah.
I can't delegate nothing.
Yeah. So, well, let me ask you this, man. We talked a little bit about your addiction. We talked about your upbringing. You know, the drug use started at an awful young age and progressed, but now you've got 6 months sober. You got a job.
Yeah.
What's that look like?
I mean, I'm handling chickens all day. And
What do you mean? Like birds?
Birds.
Like physical birds?
The physical bird. And if I had to pick jobs, it wouldn't be the one I would pick first. But it's the one I have, and I'm going to try to do my best at it that I can do. I'll be the best chicken slinger in Clarksville if I have to.
Yeah. You're going to be a good chicken plucker. Is that right? Y'all pluck feathers?
Yeah, start somewhere.
So we're employed. You got a little over 6 months clean. What's it look like for to be living in his purpose? Like if you could have your dream life right now, what would it look like?
I ain't in the fit to have my dream life yet because I would screw it up.
What's your favorite thing about recovery?
The favorite thing is to have something on my own, and earn it and not take it or to not to rely on a substance to make me feel good. I could feel good off light. I could feel good off something that is naturally given to me without having something to alter my mind and remember it.
Yeah.
And not be embarrassed of it and not to hurt my family with it.
How many times you been to jail?
So I've been to county jails, 10 or more.
And you like recovery better than jail?
Absolutely.
You didn't try to make a baby in jail.
Well, I wouldn't try to work recovery then either.
Well, I'm just saying, I keep going back to the kid in the recovery house,
Yeah. I did a lot of stupid stuff in the past, but, it took 44 years for me to get that light to go off in my head.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it went off, and I'm glad you're here.
Me too, man. Me too.
I'm glad you're here. So what are some challenges that you might find in your early recovery?
Self-discipline. Not doing things that I feel like I need to do and taking, like I have a good sponsor. I talk with him on a daily and this was myself to get in the literature, to do a step work, to call him every day, to make my meetings, to be responsible enough to carry out the daily requirements for me in this program.
Yeah.
Because we're stretched here, but I know any idle time is not good for me. So I like that part being stretched, waking up at crack of dawn and getting out of work at dusk and going to a meeting and come back and hit the sack and do it again. I need that right now.
Yeah, that's structure and routine.
Right.
How does it feel to pass a drug test?
It feels great.
Do you ever try to take a picture of your test? Look, Mom, look what I can do. I see that a lot. Like guys hold their drug test up like a trophy, and they're like so proud that because we never could do it.
Right. Or I would dodge it. It feels great, man, just to know that I don't have to sweat that stuff, man. And waste your test on me if you want to.
Yeah, well, we got to around here. We got to have integrity here.
It holds me accountable. I know if I was or anybody was to slip up, they wouldn't be here long, and you don't give you a window, the opportunity to even put that thought in your mind because you're going to be tested in a couple of days anyway.
Yeah, we test.
Yeah,
everybody who lives here got to take one.
Yeah,
for sure, every week.
Yeah,
sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, depends on who you are, where you're falling at. And so I want to ask you something. If there's anything that you want to tell the listeners or the viewers, I want you to look right here at this camera and just tell them whatever is on your heart, Ben.
I just want to say, no matter how old you are or what background you come from, your deepest, lowest parts of your addiction, you can always make that turnaround, man. It's just cry out to God, ask him to put the right people in right situations in front of you and follow what he's got for you.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, no problem.
And thanks for coming on the show today, man. It's been fun. It's cool sitting here laughing with you and chopping it up. And I really do hope that the family reunification with you and your daughter takes place. And I hope your dad gets his son back. And I just want you to know you're worth recovery. You're worth living a life that you never dreamed of. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I want to thank you guys for watching today. This is it, From Prison to Purpose, and we're rocking and rolling. Please go follow and like and subscribe to all the social media. Long form content is on our YouTube channel. Please go check that out. And make sure you comment, like, and share, and tell us who you want to hear from next. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to From Prison to Purpose with Jimmy McGill. Please subscribe on any of the major podcasting platforms and on YouTube at Prison to Purpose. This podcast is produced by Ty King with American Business Engine and executive producer Jimmy McGill. For more information, visit us at jimmymcgill.org.